Hey, a lot going on. What I want to talk to you about is the California Delete Act. I know it's still proposed and whatnot, but it says a lot about kind of the state of the nomenclature and where we are here. And I wonder, first of all, what do you think of it? It seems pretty existential for data brokers and data brokers and the ones that sell data, but also just generally people classified as that. It's companies we know and familiar with.
I think it's emblematic of the moment that we're in, where we've had these terms, commercial surveillance, data broker, just even as that term and all of the descriptions that go around it. There's just this aura or increasing fear of creepiness, stalking, invading people's privacy. And so there's been a real fast forward, I think, on just more and more versions and flavors of privacy legislation. And I think one of the things we hear from clients is what's around the corner. And so this California Delete Act is a good example of, whoa, this took a very fast forward step in that, yes, it's very empowering to consumers, but to what end? And is there an awareness of what that would mean? The one click to have all your data deleted with those listed, there's ramifications to the economy. There's ramifications to the consumer on even what they'll be able to access. You ask somebody on the street what's a data broker, and they may scratch their head. I think of the B2B business economy and the way that we get to personalize and the way that we get to find those niche audiences, right? Otherwise, things become very mass market. So I have concerns, and it's this, but there is more to come.
Are we just seeing privacy, especially coming into an election year? Are we seeing it as a political weapon and just looking for villains here, like big tech, easy villain, and data brokers, an even easier villain? Or politicians, legislators just tapping into that. But at the same time, there's this rising consumer awareness around this. And as this expands, companies and how they use data get more in the spotlight, more of a reason to make sure you have responsible data practices, or at least are communicating those.
It remains to be seen how effective politically it will be. But I do think there is an urge to weaponize privacy from a variety of corners. And so how that is used is to be determined, but I think that's happening. We're in a climate where it used to be like certain buckets of data were hyper regulated. And so that's where you'd have very strict controls and attention and accountability. And we're getting to a place where all data may be hyper regulated, where you have these different components that you have to own and have people sign for personally, that they've done the risk assessment on that particular type of data. And I think really getting to a place where it becomes a lot harder to access data, to share data, and what are the ramifications of that, where it becomes so difficult other than large companies who already have a whole lot of data. I have concerns about that.
Even just calling with the strict data broker definition, and thinking about the number of brands who potentially rely on that data for their targeting or otherwise. For me, there's a part of it it's now jump back into your first party data strategies and establishing those direct relationships with your customers where you say, hey, data is the currency in our transaction, but we're going to treat it responsibly. And it's more preference centers in addition to privacy. And I don't know if that part's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm with you that the ecosystem just fundamentally changes with this.
I think about small businesses and I think about startups and the cost of innovation. We could all agree it would be great to have that, but even to set up the privacy preference center when you're just first starting and you don't have a whole lot of funds, these laws, some of them have these small business carve outs, but those don't work so much. Like any interaction with partners where you build up a business model and suddenly you have to put on these very different type of controls than how you've been doing business. And just playing that out, these laws, unlike a lot of consumer protection laws, I think a lot of states, California is one, that will continue to build on what it has. And maybe some things get narrowed, but I think more likely things get expanded and added. And so what is going to be put on top of what already is in place? For everybody who thought August, it's just a quiet month, not a whole lot of developments, you can catch your breath. So no, the California Privacy Protection Agency, as they do, they've got a regular meeting, and in advance of that meeting, they do an announcement, and we're all waiting bated breath to see what's going to happen at the next meeting. They've posted draft regulations for discussion at this meeting this month on assessments, the privacy assessments and the cybersecurity assessments. And as we anticipated, and certainly the trend line with what we saw in Colorado, they're intensive. And so I think talking about data responsibility and getting really granular with controls, who's going to sign that? You're going to sign those assessments saying you have blessed all of the controls around XYZ practice. And I think people, if they are concerned, they may be pulled in litigation, they may be deposed, they may be a witness. I think that they're going to want that assessment to be supported before they sign their name on it. We're in September and it's back to school, but I would say just continue to watch the press releases by the FTC, by a lot of the big state AG offices. We're in for many more developments, and we're going to have to manage the whiplash as we respond and take each one of those into account as we build our programs going forward.